Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's Vendor Spotlight webinar featuring PressurePro, sponsored by Protective Insurance. I'm Tom Kim with Roadz, provider of the platform powering the Protective Insurance marketplace. So it's a well-known fact that maintaining optimal tire pressure adds significant efficiencies for drivers and fleets alike, including extended tire life, improved fuel efficiency, and decreased downtime and maintenance. But even more importantly, tire pressure remains a critical factor in fleet safety considerations, with underinflation remaining a leading cause of tire failure. This can result in roadside downtime, but also puts fleets at high risk for accidents and subsequent increase in claims, litigations, and payouts. During this webinar, you'll learn from Jason Zarur, President and CEO of PressurePro, on how their industry-leading TPMS solution arms your fleet with real-time tire performance data, bolstering driver experience, adding operational efficiencies, and improving safety measures across your fleet. We'll wrap up this session with a quick guide on how to view PressurePro solutions on the Protective Insurance marketplace. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll address all questions at the end of the session. Now, without further ado, here's Jason from PressurePro.
Thank you for the introduction, Tom. Appreciate it. And thank you for all the attendees for taking some time out of your busy schedules today. The topic of discussion is TPMS. That's what I want to talk with you about. And traditionally, that acronym stood for Tire Performance or Tire Pressure Monitoring Systems. But just recently, over the last handful of years, it's really morphed into more of that, mainly because of the connectivity of the systems and just the huge impact that tires have overall on a commercial trucking fleet. Where it's turned more into tire performance management solutions, because you can learn so much more about them and have even a larger effect by getting a handle on this than in the history of trucking. Started. Sorry, guys. So state of the market here is really kind of strange in the fact that it's simultaneously positive, undeniably, and also kind of outrageously negative at the same time. It's positive in the fact that freight tonnage has never been greater. Just last year, from 2021 to 2022, they're going to grow 20% as far as the overall freight that's being carried across this country. So, of course, that's a positive move when there's more trucks traveling more miles with more tonnage than any time in the history of the U.S. Negative because of many challenges that are facing the industry today. Driver shortages. I'm sure everybody's heard about shortages, not just in drivers, but in all industries. Rising operational costs that Tom had alluded to. Economic uncertainty, which is kind of affecting all of us right now. So just want to take a closer look at these impacts, and then after that, what we can do to kind of curb some of these impacts. Three things that are top of every fleet's expenses. It doesn't matter where you're at in the world, what you're hauling, what language your drivers are speaking. Three costs are always going to float to the top, usually in the order of labor, fuel, and tires. It's just the way that it is. Doesn't matter if you're short haul or long haul. The nature of the beast is these three expenses kind of trump everything else. All of them can be affected by what we're talking about today with TPMS, and we'll dive a little bit more into that right now. So the driver shortages is something that is tough. You know, it's probably numerous reasons. The reason of just the overall job market right now. But if you think about it, guys my age I didn't grow up thinking about driving a truck, seeing the country, the open road, where I know that there was many people in the generation previous to mine that really embraced that idea. It was the sense of freedom, really. Where now it seems like it's more a sense of keeping you away from home and away from the family life, where there's a little bit more focus on work-life balance, but still it's something that needs to be taken into account. But the big ones that really affect costs, and in that order, are the fuel, maintenance, and the tires. Sorry, guys. So yeah, for fuel alone, there was, if you see this breakdown, the 30-cent increase per mile just over the last 3 years. Just to put that in perspective, and I'm going to allude to an example a few times throughout here just to make the numbers easy to digest. So let's say for a mid-sized fleet of 100 tractor trailers, And kind of an average distance they would travel per year would be 150,000 miles per year. That's kind of just a standard. Some of them are quite a bit less, some substantially more. But a fleet that size, just the increase alone, the 30 cents per mile, would equate to $4.5 million in additional fuel consumed over the year. So undeniable, it's going to raise expenses across the board for the consumers, for the fleet expense, of course. It's something that has to be taken into account and try to get a handle on. The maintenance as well. Maintenance is a cost that has risen 6 cents per mile. That's a number right there where I feel like it doesn't seem very impactful. But on that same example, same 100 trucks, 150,000 miles per year, that equals $900,000 in expense. Just the additional maintenance fees outside of fuel and tires that are impacted right now in today's economy. And then in tires, usually the number 3 expense for any fleet, just in the last year alone, it's hiked up 20%. So like every other commodity that you've seen out on the, or asset rather, that you see out on the store shelves, they're raising. Not only that, but the supply chains have been challenged as well. So you have this dual effect of the prices raising at the same time where they're really hard to find. And it's putting a lot of these fleets in a really tough position. So how can we combat some of these effects that we're seeing today in the market that we really can't do anything about, as far as the price of the fuel and the price of tires? Those are tough. We're not going to be able to affect those too much. But using technology in a manner that's smart and within the spirit of your fleet is definitely where things are headed. And the more and more we get connected to the industrial IoT, the more we'll see this as far as gleaning operational efficiencies. I just want to kind of go through each one of these, and we'll focus on some more than others where they have more impact from TPMS, but all of these across the board are affected by our systems. So first is tire life. Let me focus on that. Literally the only thing between your driver and the equipment and the road that you're driving on, and also the most likely to be forgotten about. I think that's for a number of reasons. It's because until recently, tire maintenance was the same as it was about 100 years ago. And the fact that you would take a manual gauge onto your manual valve stem and you would denote it manually into a book and try to find some sense of organization of which tires and which pressures are performing the best for you and resulting in even wear, so that you get the most out of your money. That's difficult to do when you think about 18 tires on each truck. So now 1,800 tires that we're talking about on that small fleet. When you think about it like that, it really makes it tough to get a handle on. And they're treated as commodity. If you have 1,800 of them and they're changed out halfway through the year most time, you'll kind of get that sense that this is something that's disposable and it's just a huge cost. I can't really do anything about this, but it's not true. Just like in every tire, the inflation is paramount. It's absolutely the only thing that you're riding on. Without under inflation, I think there's a real world scenario that a gentleman of ours, a great partner of ours in Australia, had taught us. He said, try airing your bicycle tires about halfway up and then taking that bicycle up a hill or even on a flat surface compared to proper inflated, where you just kind of roll right along. Well, that extra muscles and sweat that you end up producing from your body, that's what falls onto the vehicle itself, having to work that much harder and burn that much more fuel and put extra wear and tear on those parts just because of the underinflation. And it's rampant in fleets. In fact, I can't remember one single fleet customer that we visited that didn't have critical tire deficiencies just in the first handful of vehicles that we surveyed. So I know there's fleets that say that they do a fantastic job, and there really are, but the vast majority of fleets don't put the attention to them that they can because of the fact that it's such a difficult job. So one stat that always stood out to me is the American Trucking Association's that 10% under inflation equals 11% less life of that tire. Well, if you go and you do an average, and we have done some averages in the ATA as well, the average fleet is 12 to 15% underinflated. So right there, they're just burning that much more tires. They're using up that much more quickly. And a lot of those expenses, which ends up being millions of dollars, even for that mid-sized fleet, can be trimmed by significant percentages. One more thing, sorry, I don't mean to jump backwards, but didn't want to forget about a couple of key stats here. When it comes to dual wheels, it's even more important. Every commercial truck that you see on the road, tractor trailers will have the dual wheel set up. And a really small difference in the PSI between those two, it's actually an alert that we focus on a lot here at PressurePro, makes a big difference, a 5/16 difference in the diameter of the underinflated tire compared to the more inflated tire. So the only way that it can catch up to that tire that has, because it obviously has to rotate more, is to skip, basically, to drag itself onto the ground. Each time it does that, it's erasing just a little bit of tread. And if you looked at it over a day, you would notice it. Over a week, you might, but over months, you will definitely notice a difference in wear patterns where it starts to get these flat spots on the tires. And those are the things that make it really difficult for that tire to be reused, to be retreaded, or to be the life extended, and make it, more efficient. So this is definitely has huge effects. What was that? Skipping and onto fuel. This is something where I feel like it kind of gets forgotten about. I alluded to it when I was telling you about the driving or pedaling that bicycle up the hill. Just like you had to exert more force with your muscles, with your body, you have to exert more gas. You have to push the pedal down a little bit harder in order to get that vehicle to perform the same. When you do that, you're going to use more fuel. There's just it's a direct correlation, and some of the effects on it is absolutely shocking. So putting the key stats down below, 1% reduction in fuel economy for every 10% underinflated. I already told you that most of the fleets out there, 12 to 15% underinflated. So the correcting of that underinflation just for that regular fleet would pay for the TPMS systems for all the truck in the first year alone. It seems that's really kind of shocking. And I don't want to make that sound easy, to go from 12 to 15% underinflated up to perfect inflation, but it does tell you just how quickly it can have an impact, especially, when you have fuel at the prices that they are today. So 4.2 million gallons of fuel wasted daily in the United States alone because of underinflated tires, a shocking stat, and something where I feel like we can all contribute on improving that. Another thing that's forgotten about, it's not just your tire wear and the fuel, but other things, on maintenance. Even using that same analogy on the bicycle, where you have to pedal that much harder up the hill. The transmission and engine have to work harder, leading to premature breakdowns. But the next time you're traveling down the road and you look at a truck that might be broken down, I challenge you to find one that's not tire related. Most of the time it is. And it might not be, it says 65% of the commercial breakdowns here are tire related. I would actually be shocked if that's true. I think it's actually quite a bit more than that, just because it is the only thing touching the road. It is the number one thing to have a simple problem that can kind of grind the entire operation to a halt. And when you do have a flat tire, it's impossible. You can't just drag that single dual the rest of the way. It's something that is forced to take corrective action then in order to continue your route. So it can be a huge contribution to additional downtime. When you do lose a tire and you have to send somebody to the side of the road, it can average well over $1,000 to go fix it. You have that load sitting there not being delivered to your customer. You have that driver not driving, still getting paid sometimes, or still being covered. So it's definitely something where if you can keep an eye on it, you can prevent these, because these flat tires that you see or the vehicles broken down on the side of the road, it didn't happen instantaneously. There are times when you can hit a big chunk of metal on the road and you can have a blowout before you really have time to take a lot of action or get off to the next stop. but that is far and away the minority of all tire incidences. From studies and industry experts, they will tell you that the vast majority, 90% plus of all tire events are caused by underinflation. That underinflation leads to a buildup of heat over time. You build up heat in a cased environment, it will continue to, like I said, build up that pressure until failure. It's just a matter of time. The more underinflated you are, the quicker that will happen. Of course, there's variable conditions and what type of roads you're on, what type of truck you're driving, how fast you're going, but it's just so important in order to keep that inflation at the proper level. So the number one thing that can cause you to be stuck on the side of the road. I think an element that's really forgotten about in a lot of ways because it's hard to quantify is the safety. I don't feel in this room or in this audience rather that safety would be forgotten about. And there's huge implications when it comes to this. I don't feel that people kind of directly correlate underinflation with handling of your vehicle and the braking distance or the ability to brake, period, or having a higher risk for blowouts. But all of these things are things that impact safety and are directly correlated with the amount of inflation you have in your tires. So the stat on the bottom there is one, there's a couple of them here, but nearly 11,000 tire-related motor vehicle crashes occur each year, resulting in more than 600 deaths. Well, that's a pretty morbid thought, but there is some light here. That number was much larger pre-2007 when the US government mandated that tire pressure monitoring systems were regulated and mandated on every passenger car. So basically everything F350 and below would not have to, would need to have TPMS from the factory. And many people are probably annoyed in the fact that the fall comes around and the weather cools down and your light pops up on your dash. You're like, oh man, I got to deal with this little. The fact is, whenever that light pops on, you should make a point sometime over the next day to go and inflate that tire, because there's times when you'll get going down the road and that light that just came on goes back off again, because naturally as you're rolling down the road, it builds up heat and builds up pressure, direct correlation there, and your light might go off. And the next morning when it cools back down again, you'll see your light on. This is, it's kind of just indicative of how tire maintenance is done and how the human psyche works a little bit. And the fact that if think the light's off, I'm good to go. But if you think about previous to these systems and there was no real pull, there was no light popping up on your dash to even make you worry a little bit, it's definitely the first thing forgotten about. It's not inside your vehicle. There's absolutely no electronic monitoring on it whatsoever, until now. And the fact is, being outside the vehicle in the heat or in the elements, it's just the last thing that people really want to take it, because it's a pain in the butt, to be honest, to take care of tires. So we talked about a lot of things, how TPMS can affect these different things. And after that, we really like to focus on what makes PressurePro special. We don't want to make this a sales pitch at all, but definitely want to let you know what our value proposition is. So the first thing is a variety of solutions. We do have a full offering. Doesn't matter if you have an industrial vehicle with large tires like a Caterpillar, or a small gray fleet of Sprinter vans that are going down the road. If you want to have a standalone option, or if you need something integrated into an existing technology, this is what we do. It's our core competency. This is all that we've done for the last 31 years of our business. And so we think we have a pretty good handle on how we can improve fleet efficiencies when it comes to tire maintenance. The unrivaled customization and unmatched experience. I do feel that they, the 31 years I had mentioned, but being able to customize those for each fleet, where having those alerts come in to where you'll actually do something about it is what we're trying to accomplish here. Imagine a world where the alerts come in and you can't set them to what level you want to for each fleet. And it's basically crying wolf over and over and over again. If your tire's only 5 PSI underinflated, say, you might take action, but you probably wouldn't if you had to choose between inflating that tire or getting to your destination on time. So there is a balance there. At the same time, customizing those alerts to where when the alert does come in, that they're taking action and filling that up has huge implications. And that's how I feel that we kind of go to market is look at each fleet's needs. What do they need in order to improve their efficiencies? How can we get them to going down that road? Other things, I believe this is still true. The only TPMS system that's still made in the USA, designed, manufactured here in the USA. We've got production plants here in Missouri where PressurePro resides, and also in Michigan. That's something that we've been doing since 2004 here in the United States, and proud to maintain that. Still a family business, operating in 55 countries now, but still have come in here every single day with the intention of adding safety and savings to the road. And as far as on unparalleled innovations and reliability, I feel like this is the reason why we are lucky enough to have a lot of global TPMS partners around the world that are probably recognizable. Some of these, at least to people that are in the room, not to everybody, because some of these are specialty, but they're globally recognized corporations that have adopted us as their TPMS partner of choice from the factory. So any of these you can kind of pluck out, and we'll have a system behind the dash that the driver might not know about, communicates to their existing screen. And if there's a low tire event, usually they'll be indicated right there on their display, and also being able to organize it onto the back end so that management can see exactly what the driver sees and really start to do something about gleaning operational efficiencies. In the last few slides, I don't want to read it for you. I won't, but these are a few of our customers that really have some good data that they've shared over time. We've been doing this, like I said, for quite some time. They have different manners of conducting these tests to really tell how much they saved. But this is Willow Runs Food out of New York. They really had a pretty in-depth study where they did a pilot test over a few months' time, and really looked at all of the little things from your fuel efficiency, tread wear, uneven wear, tire disposal, things they had to get rid of. And what they realized was a 58% reduction overall in their expenses. That's tough to really, it's tough for me to believe at first. But when you start to look at all the different things, from the tire wears and the fuels and the lack and the labor, and not spending that much time manually checking every single tire, it's huge. It's huge, and the 58% reduction became more and more believable once I realized how much tire issues they were having before we got there. Another one, I know she wanted to focus on a couple different things. On safety wise, this is something that was striking for me. I didn't even talk about temperature, but we also look for temperature, not just for levels of low pressure with our sensors, which we're looking for 2 levels of low pressure, high pressure, and temperature as well. Some people think, well, if you're on the valve stem, how effective are you really looking for temperature? It actually is a good measurement of the air that's inside the chamber of the tire. And things like a brake hanging up or a hub going bad can be indicated on here by raising temperatures that you see on there. That can lead to an alert, because we can set those alerts wherever you want to. And we were able to save a trailer for them by letting them know that they have a high heat incident. The tire was in real bad shape. It was close to failing, basically, that they were able to save that tire before the event happened, get it back on the road. That tire lived a good long life. Another one of our customers, similar incident, just happened last week. The same thing happened. A new trailer, the brakes were tightened up a little bit too much. It was dragging the tire along on the highway. It was out in Las Vegas. Set the entire trailer on fire. They lost the trailer. They lost the entire load. About $200,000 total in product went up in flames on Highway 15. So obvious right there, some of the value that can provide safety wise. And our last one, this is a company that has been putting us on every single tire there since 2011, A&A Trucking. They put us through some pretty messy situations. They go everywhere, gravel, concrete, asphalt, it doesn't matter. Where they have to pour new roads, A&A Trucking is proud to be there. And we're proud to be a provider for them, even though they might not treat our equipment the best, they're kind of rough with it. I think we've proven that we're durable and reliable over that time.
All right, thank you, Jason, for that presentation. That was extremely insightful. Before we get to the Q&A, I just want to give everyone a quick tour of the protective insurance marketplace. Jason, if you don't mind, I'll take over the screen share. Okay. So on the homepage of the marketplace, you'll see numerous categories to the left here, all the solutions to the right. If you scroll down, you'll also see some limited time offers that are spotlighted here. If you keep scrolling down on the left pane here, you'll see prior webinars and also in this resources section. And this is where we'll also be posting a recording of today's webinar. So keep an eye out for that. So let's take a look at PressurePro's solution. If I click on fleet maintenance, the category, I can actually see their solutions here. They do have two. So they have their standard solution here, and they have a BYOD package. I'll click on the standard one here. By clicking on that card, you'll drill into the solution listed, the full solution listing here. You'll see a quick overview up top, a who it's for section, a longer description that gives you a little more details. And then down here, you'll see a media carousel, which has featuring highlights and videos, a features and benefits, about PressurePro section here, which Jason did a great job of explaining as well, but you can see that here. And then some additional resources here. You'll see there are some brochures, spec sheets, user manuals. And then to get more information on the PressurePro solution and to speak with Jason's team, you can click on the request info button here. It's a quick wizard. You'll be able to submit your contact to fleet info and someone from their team will reach out to you right away. So there it is, a one-stop shop to find safety and risk management solutions to solve your fleet needs. So now at this point, we'll wrap up with the Q&A. Let me just take a look here. So it looks like we have a couple of questions. Looks like these are for you, Jason. So the first one, can I perform the installation application setup myself, and how long does this take on average?
Yes, to answer the first question, it can be done by an individual. I would say most of ours would be installed by the fleet by the maintenance team. For a typical 10-wheel tractor on tractor trailer, I would say it would be about an hour for installation, maybe less than that once you actually get it down. There's some power, ground, running an antenna, programming the sensors. It's pretty simple, but when working with commercial trucks, I'd still allow 45 minutes to an hour.
Great.
Maybe a little bit less than that for a trailer, just for scale.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Jason. Another question, in the BYOD package, do you support both Android and iOS devices and also mobile phones and tablets?
Yes, any Android or iOS tablet or phone, I think iOS 8 or later, and I think Android 7 or 8 as well. So it goes back a number of years. Unless you have a 10-year-old device, you should be good to go.
Great. See the next question. What type of options are configurable in the low and high pressure alerts?
Okay, so what's configurable? So you have two levels of low pressure alerts, and we separate those out as a cautionary alert and then a critical alert. Or actually have some symbiosis there in the fact that when you set your critical alert, you'll also set your cautionary alert as a ratio from it. So basically out of the box, we will tell you at 15% low as a cautionary alert, and then again at 25% low as a critical alert. These are completely adjustable. And as you adjust your critical alert, your cautionary alert will adjust as well. So some people want to put it all the way down so if there's a tire, say even sometimes less than 10 PSI off of deviation, where other fleets just don't have the bandwidth, they'll want to know more only if there's something critical that they need to put their eyes on right now.
Great.
Besides that, we do have one other unique one it's kind of PressurePro patented technology, and the fact that we look across the axle on the same axle, but imagine a row of dual tires, 2 here and 2 on the other side, and as you stagger, they're different pressures, and they are 10 psi away from each other. That can cause a huge difference. Like we talked about, that dragging of the tire, it's that difference on the same axle that can also cause some major wear and tear.
Awesome, thank you. We'll do one more question. Let's see. Is there a way to view history details of my fleet vehicles and by date?
Yes, actually, we have depending on what system you use, but all of ours, we're very proud of our reporting ability. We have live systems that are connected to our cloud to where you can have the same, no latency, same that the drivers can see, you can see. We also have the ability, even with our flagship monitor that's standalone, to go in and look historically at the data, to upload that to our cloud-based software, to really look at the different trucks and even over time, how those things have improved. So you can see maybe your whole fleet and what your overall deviation from optimum is, and then how that's actually improving over time, causing less alerts.
Great. All right, so that's all the questions we have for today. Please visit the Protective Insurance Marketplace to look at PressurePro solution offerings and other offerings that can solve your safety and risk management needs. Thank you, Jason, so much for your time and a very insightful presentation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today for another Spotlight Vendor webinar. Thank you.